Hi everyone, Teri Wellbrock here, host of the Healing Place podcast, and just taking a second before today's wonderful episode to remind everyone to visit my website, teriwellbrock.com. It's Teri, just one R, WELLBROCK.com, and subscribe to my monthly Hope for Healing newsletter. You can do that when the pop-up comes up or there's a subscribe button there. And just wanted to share some happy news that, oh my gosh, my psoriasis rash is looking so much better. Met with someone that I had met through one of my Hilton Head series guests, and we connected. She's lives in Savannah, and discussing supplements and so forth. And so I've added a new supplement to my regimen, and it's really making some powerful difference with my body. This particular supplement has a focus on oxidative stress and the free radicals, clearing those up that are floating around. So I'm super pumped. I'm super excited. Feel better every day. I've hit 10,000 steps every day for a week, which goes along with today's episode. So about getting out there and moving and walking. And I know for me, it really is a spiritual process, very mindful. But just experiencing God in the beauty that surrounds me on my walks. All right, enjoy today's episode. Welcome everybody to the Healing Place podcast. I am your host, Teri Wellbrock, and so very happy to have with me today Marjorie Turner Hollman, and she is a freelance writer, author, editor, as well as doing book coaching, which we were just having a fun little conversation about before hitting record. So welcome, Marjorie.
Oh, thank you so much, Teri. I'm looking forward to this conversation. You never know where it goes.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's the most fun that I have with this podcast. Well, the most fun I have is meeting beautiful souls such as yourself. I love these connections that I have and make, and so many of my podcast guests turn to friendship and just treasured friends beyond podcast guests. And I love that. But the second thing being that just went out of my head. Well, whatever that second thing was, it's a good thing to have too. So it'll come back to me in a second. I can't believe that, like, that just went out of my brain. Anyway, so yeah, let's talk about you have is it a fifth book that is just came out or is coming out?
In the Easy Walk series. Started as very hyper local trail guides because people where I live in Massachusetts just don't know where there are places to get outside. The backstory behind that is my latest book, which is my Liturgy of Easy Walks, and that's my memoir. But the backstory of that is that 30 plus years ago, I woke from brain surgery to save my life and found my right side totally paralyzed. So I have gained a measure of healing over these years. I am able to walk out on the trail. I use hiking poles because of compromised balance and continued paralysis in my foot. But lots of things have changed. Lots of things have healed. And this whole book series has been an amazing, not only making peace with what I've lived through, but feeling like I have a way to give back, and also encountering lots of other people who have similar challenges, not in the details, but in the big picture. And those are, people who are older, people who are recently injured, young parents with kids in strollers. They all are looking for easy walks. And that's not too many roots, not too many rocks, relatively level with something of interest along the way. That's an easy walk. And so these books all use that theme of teaching people to tell us about the trail surfaces so that we can actually get outside safely. And that's
Oh,
been just it's taken on a life of its own. It's really kind of remarkable. It's certainly not anything that I expected when it started.
I love it. And I love it that, well, one of the points that you made is by putting our truths out there, sharing our stories, it's amazing how many people resonate with it. And then we have that connection and people come and say, oh my gosh, me too. But like you said, I love the way you worded it, not in the details, but on the broader spectrum. And yes, I know when I first started putting my trauma truths out, which was terrifying and scary, but how many people would reach out to me privately in text
Mm-hmm.
or phone call or private messenger or something and say, oh my gosh, me too. I've never told anybody but blah. And
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, with your story and being able to have, you're right, people to say, I don't know, like nature is so healing. Nature is so wonderful to
Mm-hmm.
be out there. We need to be out in it more. And yeah, so putting this out there and all these people resonating, I love it.
Yeah, the first books are all what I call hyper local. So very, very just from one town to the next, whatever town I'm in, where can I find places to safely get outdoors? So those are my first two books with actually the first three. I worked with another group. They wanted their own book. So 37 contiguous towns in south central Massachusetts into Rhode Island with what are the trails in each of those contiguous towns. So, there's 350 towns in Massachusetts. I'm not even scratching the surface, but when you're there, here's what you can find. And those I've been writing since 2013. They're still selling very well. The other books are how do you find all these places? And then the most recent is here's why I've been writing them. Here's my story from learning to live with a changed life.
Yeah.
And so the subtitle is it's My Liturgy of Easy Walks. The subtitle is Reclaiming Hope in a world turned upside down.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. Now
it's
I
what do you
did want to
do with,
ask. Go ahead.
yeah, no, it's
I,
what do you do when suddenly everything you've been counting on, depending on, taking for granted is gone? How do you
I,
start over and how do you make a life with what you have?
yeah. Well, and that was one of the questions I had for you. The title, I grew up very Catholic, and so the word liturgy to me has a spiritual essence for it. And so
Mhm.
I was curious, my liturgy of easy walks, is it a sacred journey? Is it when so your walks is this just about how to find these places, or is there a spiritual or sacred or healing part of it?
I think the comparable way of talking it, these are meditations on living a changed life.
Okay.
It incorporates walking in some of those experiences. The broader focus is one is healing, one is walking, one is the strength of family and friends, one is not by bread alone, and another one is I can't even remember. It's lessons learned. That's right. So those are the chapters. They're really meditations more than specific religious liturgies,
Yeah.
because a liturgy is basically ways of meeting God. And all of what I am writing about are those struggles, those not the pat easy answers, not the cliches. It's the what do I do with this part of my life? And how do I get through another part? And what are the things that bring me joy? And
Yeah.
what are the things that in the midst of really hard things, there's a light somewhere. It may be very, very small, but
Oh.
keeping moving through, or simply just saying, this is really hard.
Yeah, very powerful. I know this morning. So I've been on a healing journey for 10 years, but in the past 2 years, it was for the first time ever a physical. I became very, very ill with mycotoxin poisoning from mold exposure, and have healed everything. All my labs are back in the normal range. All the mycotoxins are, back in the normal range out of my system. But I have this rash. It's autoimmune triggered that I just like my body eating itself, attacking itself. And so I just haven't been able to shake it. Well, I finally was able to shake it, and my skin was so much better. And I was like, yeah, I finally did it. Like I got it. I got myself back to where I needed to be. And then my mom, who's severe alcoholic, was diagnosed and put in hospice with liver cancer and cirrhosis of the liver, 87 years old, and decided her end of life journey would be to dive back into the bottle after living sober for 3.5 years. So I think the rash came back like boom. And so this morning, as I was getting ready and I was looking at my legs, and I was like, oh, I just had this moment of surrender. And so resonating with the words you just said, because it was very much, sending up to God, universe, whatever, however you look at it, in saying, all right, there is a lesson that I'm needing to learn in all of this, and why this is surfacing, that there's an emotional component of this. And so, this surrender into it, and being willing to, I live a life of gratitude and joy and trying to find the positives. But you're right, when these things come up in our lives, it really is that like stops us in our tracks. And that's our opportunity to say, hold on a second, like, where am I being redirected, or what am I needing to learn here?
Yeah, if I hadn't had the experience of losing my ability to walk, I feel sure I would not have gone in this direction. I would have just kept doing what I was doing, or, obviously things would keep changing, but this had a profound impact on my perspective and my appreciation of something that walking we take for granted until it's gone.
Well, and I love that you put that in one of our notes back and forth, I think in an email exchange, that you were writing books about walking when there were times in your life that you weren't even able to walk. And so, that's very
sort of ironic.
Ironic, but poetic in a way. And yes, because it's almost like that journey of triumph then, because now you are back out there walking again.
We also have a tandem bicycle, an adaptive tandem bicycle, because I don't have the balance to ride a bike on my own. And my husband actually built us a tandem bicycle that I can ride. He does the balance and the steering and all of the maintenance and all of the packing, because I have heat sensitivity. So when you think of getting out in bikes, I can't do over 70 degrees. My legs stop working. So there's all sorts of adaptive things that we need to do to make it safe for me to get in the outdoors on our bike. And that I feel like I'm flying. It's just wonderful, because otherwise I move at the speed of a turtle. My life came to a stop, and I have to move very slowly to be able to maintain an equilibrium. The seizures that I have dealt with because of the brain surgery, it's medication and lifestyle that keeps some stability. And so that I have to keep in mind and keep mindful of, to keep things stable in my life. It isn't a one and done. It's not you can take a pill for that. It's lifestyle as well as medication working together. It can be really frustrating. I'd like to just feel like I could be normal, and my normal is pretty different than a lot of people's. Everybody has things they deal with. Mostly it doesn't show.
Right. Well, you said mindful, and it made me think of, so my walks, I know, and we talk about it on the show, are very mindful walks. And I think you,
Mhm.
speaking of being meditative types of walk, that um, there is uh, just a mindfulness approach that you can have in walking, that doesn't have to just be, you know, I'm out here to get as many steps in and whipping your
Right.
arms, but to be very with whatever is surrounding you in the moment.
Mhm. Absolutely. It's sometimes it's really hard to get myself out. The pandemic has had a huge effect on all of us, and feeling isolated, feeling like home is the safe place to be, and to even just get myself out. And every time we get out, typically these days with my husband, or I'll meet with friends outside, because that again is another safe place outdoors. I really continue, because of health things, to very much limit the exposure that I have to other people. So being outside is a social, as well as every time we walk, I'll say to my husband, thank you for getting me out, because
Oh,
it is hard. It's not that I'm this gung-ho hiker. It's something emotionally sometimes very difficult for me to get myself moving and get out. As much as I love it and as much as it's wonderful, this has been a really difficult time for many, many people getting through the pandemic. For some of us, it's still here.
yes. I'm glad you brought up that point, because I did a series on the show a couple years ago when the pandemic first hit, which I don't even know what year we're into it now, but um, it was hashtag pandemic self-care. And I had 36 previous podcast guests come back and join me for a Facebook Live series. And we talked
Mm.
exactly about the impact of isolation and the things people can do. And I'm telling you, how many people on that series talked about nature, you know, doing nature baths, which is just being out in nature
Mhm.
and appreciating the birds singing and the flowers, the colors, and using our senses. And um, yes, movement, walking, whether you're walking, like you said, at a turtle's pace, or if you are out there strolling along or riding a bike, whatever it can be, is just to
Mhm.
be out there moving. I mean, those two things are, you're right, very powerful in helping us along that journey.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
for sure.
right. Well, we can certainly sit here and talk for quite a while, I'm sure, but I wanted to give you an opportunity to address anything that you feel compelled to talk about today.
Hmm. Why? Sometimes I don't always get a chance to talk about it, but in our culture, there's this concept of no pain, no gain. I'm sure you've heard that. And it's always really irritated me, because, especially having been immersed in the neurological world of healing, there is no pain, no gain. Healing comes as you wait and you move as you're able. It isn't that you can push through it. It isn't that you can say, now I'm going to do this and I'm just going to grit through. There's no healing that comes with that. It's the staying with it, doing what you can. I call it my Zen dishes, that I would sit and do my dishes and until my shoulder couldn't do it. I could try to push it, and once the pain is there, I really have to stop. It's learning to respect your body as it's healing, and understanding there is nothing to be gained by inflicting more pain. It doesn't work. Healing comes, at least neurologically, in my experience, when it's ready, and not a moment before. And they can be sudden healings. I could tell you when specific things happened that I was able to get more mobility, more more awareness, more movement, more just peace, or even balance, which we really take for granted. It's a neurological skill as it is. And for a long time, my balance was right at my knees. It was like walking on stilts. But as a child, I had stilts and I could get down from them. As an adult, with this whole change in my body, my balance was at my knees, felt like walking on stilts, but I couldn't step off. And suddenly one day it shifted and my balance moved back to my hips, where we always talk about your balance is in your hips. Not always. It's a neurological function that we take for granted. And one day, in a moment, it shifted very weirdly. It was very, very strange. But that didn't come with pushing through pain. It came through moving as I was able. Because otherwise, if I just sat in my chair feeling sorry or just giving up, I would never have known that change had happened.
Yes.
So keep moving as you're able, as much as you're able, which isn't a lot sometimes.
That's a powerful, powerful message. Like, one, it resonated with me so strongly because I just like kind of received this message of stop pushing so hard. Just let it be, and your body's going to heal. Like, I just felt this wave come over me, but that is a powerful lesson because you were patient and you listened and you
I'm not
allowed.
very patient. Not very patient. Oh, I chafe so much. I'm not patient. And still, your body tells you what it needs. I
Yeah.
talk to people about, some people only slow down when they've had a heart attack and they might not survive. And others of us slow down in ways that we can survive. We hit that wall. But I did survive. So, whatever it takes to make us stop and reevaluate. Some of us don't survive that.
Right.
Some of us are given a second chance.
Yes. And it's amazing how many second chances those folks that I know with them have a shift and do take the lessons and take the hardships and the trials and the triumphs and share it with the world through books or through speaking or through their work. They become a coach. I mean, it's to me, it's such a beautiful way to guide others along the healing journey. So I just thank you for writing these books and sharing your truths, which I'm sure will resonate with so many others.
Thank you. I really, really appreciate you've asked good questions.
Oh, thanks. Thanks. So how do folks get in touch with you? How do they connect with you or get your books?
Oh, thank you. Thank you. The books are all on Amazon under Marjorie Turner Hollman. My website is marjorieturner.com. Marjorie. There's always different spellings, but marjorieturner.com. And that's where links to all the books are. I have an author page on Amazon. And there's lots of links. They can, the books are there. I don't know that I sent you a copy of my book. And if
Hold
I
on one
didn't,
second. For those on YouTube, ready?
I did. Okay.
Yeah, I think the subtitle's different,
It
but
has now changed.
yes,
It's
that's
now
changed. But I do have it.
Reclaiming Hope.
It's on the top
Yeah.
of my pile of next to read. I don't like to read the books before I interview because it just helps me to have really truly authentic conversations without knowing. And then I'll dive into it. So
I travel like that. My husband does all the planning and all the routes, and he knows so much. And I say, I'm going to see what's there. And then I'll go back and read. And I say, oh, I probably should have read some of that before. But I can't visualize what I'm reading until I've actually been there.
yes.
And
Yeah,
that's
that
how
just
I
makes for a
travel.
return trip, right? So then you can go appreciate all the
Exactly.
stuff. You can say, oh, check
Exactly.
mark, I did that already, but I didn't do this. So yeah.
Exactly. Going back, we always say, we need to come back. There
Yeah.
wasn't enough time. We'll have to do
Yes.
this again. Now that we know that,
Right. Right. Well, it's been just a joy to have you here today. Thank you for joining me and sharing your insights. I know I personally learned a lot, so thanks.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I wish Hilton Head were closer so I could just stop in.
Oh,
I love
yes, if you're ever
islands.
down
I love
here,
the
that
ocean.
I had
Yeah.
a friend that lives in the Northeast. I think I want to say, oh, golly jeepers, Catherine lives in Connecticut or Rhode Island. I'm so
Mhm.
drawing a blank on it. Maybe it is Massachusetts, but she she was down here vacationing and reached out and said she was visiting a cousin, family member nearby at one of the other islands. And so she came over and we met and we sat on the beach and just sat and talked for hours on end. And it was just so beautiful. So yes, if you ever come down to the area, reach out, we'll
Oh,
sit
thank
down and we'll
you.
just hang out for a while.
Oh, my grandmother had a beach house on Pensacola Beach, and
Okay.
that was home for us, even though I grew up in South Florida. But Pensacola was really where family was,
Oh,
and
that's so
really
beautiful.
going back and forth to the water and back as a kid. And I thought everybody's grandmother had a beach house. Little did I know how lucky we were to be
Yes.
on the water.
Yeah, well, we vacationed here 20 years before we finally moved here. And one time we had told the kids, I have three kids, and we said, "Hey, we're going to do something different this year for vacation. Let's do Charleston or let's do, Florida." And they said, "Mom, we have to go to Hilton Head. It's tradition." And so it is, when you have that place
Mhm.
that just speaks to your soul. And that's what
Yeah,
this island was for us, so much so that we ended up saying, "All right, we're going to move there" during the pandemic.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
which, that's changed so much too. I do an awful lot of interacting with people around the world now by Zoom,
Yes.
which is important social connections. It it's opened up, if we have just another minute, it's opened up possibilities for people with disability, especially those of us who haven't been able to drive, people who are visually impaired. It's made it so we can open up our world as opposed to the normal world who felt so closed in. That's a lot of what the disabled community lives with all the time. The pandemic wasn't that different. We
Oh,
went in
that's,
living very isolated, and
yeah.
it in fact opened up opportunities for many of us that we weren't able to take advantage of otherwise.
Yes, definitely. That's one of the most, uh, one of the biggest silver linings that I've found is how many people now are able to connect and help others in coaching roles
Mhm.
or author roles, whatever, or speaking roles, um, help others all over the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, through
Mhm.
platforms such as Zoom. So
Yeah,
yeah,
my coaching clients are across the country at this point. I deal with people in Washington State, Michigan. My client is closer now, right now, but it doesn't really matter.
yeah,
So the
wonderful.
doors are open.
Well,
But
again, thank you for your work. Thanks for being here. And everyone, thanks for joining us today on the Healing Place podcast. And remember, until next time, be gentle with yourself. Thanks. Bye bye. Hey, everybody. Teri Wellbrock again. Just wanted to thank you for listening to the episode today and remind you to visit my website as well as the academy.teriwellbrock.com for the courses. But if you go to my website, teriwellbrock.com, you can sign up for my monthly Hope for Healing newsletter, which is also jam packed with information and strategies and blog pieces and guest blog pieces and links to shows. Um, and just a great space for thanks for again being here and being a part of this healing space. I very much appreciate you. All right. Bye bye.